Hi everyone, I'm Ryan, and this is The Mindful Musician. Welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about performance anxiety and triggers. While I'm going to be focusing on these concepts from a musician's point of view, all of the ideas and skills I'm going to be going over can apply to anyone. So, what is performance anxiety? Performance anxiety is something everyone has experienced at one point in their lives. Whether you're going to give a big speech in front of your company or a tide in the last inning of the championship game, musicians and performers may feel the same surge of energy and nerves when they're getting ready to share their art with an audience. This rush of thoughts, feelings, and emotions can be useful and helpful, but in some instances, they may be overwhelming to the point of being crippling. Performance anxiety is extreme nervousness that can take over when someone has to perform or present to an audience. The symptoms can be physical, psychological, or a combination of both. Here are some common physical symptoms: racing pulse and rapid breathing, dry mouth and tight throat, trembling hands, knees, lips, and voice, sweaty and cold hands, nausea and an uneasy feeling in your stomach, and finally, vision changes. Now, here's a list of 5 common psychological symptoms of performance anxiety: a sense of mental numbness or dissociation, memory slips, worrying for weeks or even months in advance of a performance, full-blown panic attacks at the mere thought of performing, and finally just the plain inability to perform. And while it may be incredibly frustrating to deal with any one of these symptoms before, during, or after a performance, there are techniques that can help us manage our anxiety. Before I dive into the techniques, I will say that a useful idea that has helped me is to realize that you have this anxiety because you care. You care about what you're doing, you care about the music or art you're creating. It means you're alive and want to make the world a better place. But obviously it can be hard to think that if you're having a panic attack or feeling sick right before a performance. Here are 8 techniques to manage performance anxiety. Number 1. Prepare as much as you can. Practice, practice, practice. Being prepared gives you the confidence you need to play how you want to during a performance. Going over potentially anxiety-inducing scenarios multiple times can also ease the nervous system by the time of the performance. Number 2. Cultivate and practice mindfulness every day or on a consistent basis. Setting up a consistent practice can relax you and reduce anxiety over a period of time. Mindfulness allows you to be aware of these thoughts that are racing through your head and slow them down. Number 3. Examine your thoughts to see if they help you or hinder you and reframe them. An example of this is to believe the audience is on your side, rather than thinking that they are there to judge you or intimidate you. Rather than saying, "I'm nervous," say, "I feel excited." You want your feelings, and they don't define you. Number 4. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable and push yourself to be out of your comfort zone. Number 5. Breathe. Creating a breathing routine and grounding yourself with your breath can be a powerful tool to manage anxiety. Just reminding yourself to take a few deep breaths throughout the day for 5 seconds can become a simple and easy routine. Number 6. Remember what you're doing. You're there to make music. Look at the bigger picture. Missing a few notes isn't going to take away from the overall musical message you are sending to the audience. Number 7. Communicate, journal, and express how you're feeling to a trusted loved one or therapist. Being able to vent and express our emotions with ourselves or someone we trust is a helpful tool when outside of the practice room and reduces stress overall in one's life. It's important to be able to express and communicate with ourselves so we can gain more clarity and poise when communicating emotions through our music. Number 8. Identifying triggers. A trigger is something that can cause an onset of anxiety. A specific thought might ignite an anxious moment, or maybe you had too many cups of coffee that morning and your nervous system is going haywire from the caffeine. Stress and lack of sleep can trigger heightened feelings of anxiety as well. Different relationships and the presence of certain people can have a large impact on whether or not someone feels socially anxious, which could impact the way they perform. However, some of these thoughts can be turned around or looked at differently. Maybe seeing a beloved family member, friend, or mentor in the audience makes you feel more comfortable. It is supremely helpful to reform these anxious thoughts to make them work for you instead of against you. Performance anxiety sucks. It really does. But with dedication and focus, it will become easier to manage the anxious feelings and ultimately express our music with audiences in deeper and more meaningful ways. Thanks for listening to the podcast this week. I'm glad we are all working towards being more mindful musicians together. I'll see you next time.